Hi everyone, my name is Teresa Peretta, and I am the owner of Culture Refined Consulting Company. I have a history of food service operations, and this is the food track, so we're going to be food-based today. I specialize in small business development, so I like to stay in two lanes. I like startup, and I like scaling. I helped a concept called Fusion. It's a fast casual sushi restaurant. I served as the director of operations and the vice president, and we took that concept from 1 to 12 concept all around Ohio. And now I am back in Dayton, and my goal is to help food entrepreneurs start up and scale. So today we are covering one of my favorite little crash courses. I teach a number of courses around Dayton, and you can also find me and access me through a number of organizations in Dayton. So I teach the Retail Lab with the Downtown Dayton Partnership, and it's a 12-week program where we get retail concepts ready for first floor business. And I'm an advisor through the SBDC. So if you contact the SBDC and you're looking for general consulting in food or beverage, chances are you will get connected with me. And I think there's some other things, but here we are. So one of the themes is that you do not know how to get to where you are going if you do not know where you are going, if that makes sense. So, right, this is vision setting. And often we write down in language what our vision and our mission statement is of what it is that we are going to set out to do. Now, of course, our ideas start from a place of passion, right? So there's something inside of you and something that you have been doing and an environment that you've been in or people that you've been around who, in that process, something has sparked inside of you, right? And you haven't been able to stop thinking about it. It wakes you up. You go to sleep thinking about it. It carries you throughout your day. You just can't stop thinking about it. And that's probably why you're all here. You're socializing, you are massaging, you are exploring an idea that you want to turn into a business, or you've already made into a business, or you're in the process of starting the startup phase. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time this afternoon with all of you talking about numbers. So I'm an operations girl at heart, and again, a lot like a vision or a mission statement, you are not going to know how to get to where you're going without knowing where you want to go. Okay, so this exercise is called the pie in the sky. All right, so has anyone ever seen a pie in the sky? No. So a lot like the vision and the mission of our businesses, we may or may not have ever seen someone bring our vision to life. So the thing that's existing inside of your head, you may or may not have seen someone do it. You may have seen someone do it, but they're doing it completely different than how you want to do it. Okay, so I like the pie in the sky because, first of all, I love pie. It's butter and it's bread and it's delicious filling. What could go wrong, right? And if you saw an actual pie in the sky, you would say, well, that is wild. How did that get up there, right? It's impossible. There's no way there is a pie in the sky. That's how I want people to look at you while you're living your dream, while you're doing it, while you're being so successful that you have this big, beautiful golden brown pie in the sky. And the beautiful thing about the pie is that you have to be able to cut slices out of the pie, and you have to be able to serve it. That's why it's this dream. You want to keep it. It's aspirational. It's big. It's beautiful. Our pie in our sky is going to be our annual revenue target, okay? So So just for this exercise, I want you to think about your idea, wherever you're at today. And I want you to come up with a number, and let's talk about the slices real quick. Some of your ideas may involve cost of goods. Some of your ideas may involve labor. Everybody's ideas involve additional expenses, even if it's just your cell phone. So if you're starting super, super small and it's your cell phone, it's the computer that you bought yourself, it's the printer that you have, those are expenses, right? That's small. If you're going into a brick and mortar, right, it's gonna be your rent, your insurance, your utilities, your phone, your internet, your marketing, all of the things that are going to come with the space. Did I say internet? Because the point of sale has to run on internet. Okay, so those are all your expenses. So just going back to the pie, right, we're cutting slices out of our number for cost of goods, labor, additional expenses. These numbers, as we all know, these can be like target numbers. These are restaurant industry target numbers, but it also depends on what product you're selling and what service you're offering. So I'm just saying, like, roughly, let's say 28% cost of goods, 32% labor. Let's say there's another 40% in there. So what are we roughly taking home? Right? Okay, so the reason why it's a pie is because when I ask people, what do you want to produce in revenue for the year? Typically, I get this very realistic, okay, I did 4 units last week at $10 a unit, and if I multiply that by 52, that's my number. No, I want it to be up high in the sky. I want it to be unheard of. I want it to make you a little uncomfortable, but I want your mouth watering a little bit because you want a piece of that pie. It looks so beautiful, right? Okay, so if you have a notebook, or if you have your iPhone and you have notes on your iPhone, I want you to actually write down that number. So in tandem, I don't know why I keep putting this in my pocket. If this helps you, we're gonna reverse engineer the number real quick. So think of all the products and or the services that you're gonna offer. So the services you're offering, the products that you sell, and put them into big categories. So for instance, for a restaurant, my restaurant has dine-in, carry-out, online ordering, delivery, and because everyone loves my barbecue sauce, I'm gonna make it a retail product. That was shout out to Charlinda from Mutt Sauce who just gave the last presentation. And so these are my categories, right? Within those categories, I offer salads, sandwiches, soups, baked goods, beverages. So you can get any of my products, whether it's dine-in, carry-out, online ordering, delivery, or retail. So you have bigger categories, right? These are your streams of revenue. That's what that fancy word is. And then you have your products and services within your streams of revenue. So in working, reverse engineering that number, let's go back to the pie in the sky number. If it helps, consider the effort that it takes to produce or offer your products and services, and consider what it takes to offer them through your revenue stream categories, and assign a number to what you think you can produce within that category. And then take and add it up for annual revenue. Yeah, so you've got your larger categories, dine-in, carry-out, delivery, online ordering. Go ahead and assign a dollar amount in sales. Yep. So we're kind of looking at the number as a whole for annual revenue, but then we're also looking at the categories and the dollar amounts of sales within those categories to produce our pie in the sky. So does anyone look at that number and get extremely uncomfortable when they see the slices that we're taking out? Yeah? What's your initial response? Can you do that? Okay. All right, got it. Yeah, that's a great question. All right, so we have our pie in the sky number, right? Everybody has at least that number, the big, 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 big one, right? Do you have your calculator ready? All right, let's divide the pie in the sky number by 4. And write it down. Put a Q next to it, that's quarterly. Then go ahead and divide it by 12. And put an M next to that, that's monthly. Then you'll do 52 for weekly. So you're taking the same pie in the sky number, dividing it by 12, dividing it by 4, dividing it by 52, dividing it by 365, and you should have your quarterly, your monthly, your weekly, and your daily target dollar sales goals for your pie in the sky number. I'm going to give you guys a moment because I see lots of writing. There's a lot of text up there. Don't let that overwhelm you. Okay, think about, some of you may know this. So some of you may be in a startup phase where you're focused on, if you're a caterer, maybe you are focused on a specific dollar amount of catering right now. So you want all of your catering to be 1,000. Like you want to average 1,000 per catering order. That feels comfortable to you. You're familiar with the processes and the systems of yourself to get that done right now. Okay, so that's your number. Some of you may be selling a pint of ice cream and it costs $13 per pint because it's a homemade, artisanal made ice cream. Okay, so that's gonna be your average price per transaction. Some of you may be sitting here thinking about a brick and mortar, and so you may have to make up that number. And some of you may not be selling products, so you may have to make up that number based on what it is that your product or your service is. If it's for a brick and mortar, think about how much money you want each customer prepared to come in and spend for their visit. So that is the average price per transaction. So that number represents a customer coming to you, making a purchase. That's a transaction. And you kind of know what that represents. So for some of you, that may be one catering order that has multiple components to it. For some of you, that could be one product. For some of you, that could be an entire experience of coming and sitting in and getting an entree, a side, and a drink. Average price per transaction. So you're gonna take your average price per transaction. So you're gonna take your pie in the sky number again, we're going back to the big, big number, and you're gonna divide it by your average price per transaction. So that should give us the total number of transactions for the year that need to occur to hit the pie in the sky number. You can do the same thing with this number that we just did with the dollar amounts. So if you divide it by 4, you'll see that number quarterly. If you divide it by 12, you'll see it monthly. Divide it by 52, you'll see it weekly. Divide it by 365, you'll see it for daily. So I gave you just like a made up example. I just produced a vegan ice cream, and I'm taking it to pop-ups. I want to do 100,000 in the first year. My unit price is $13.52 a unit. I need to sell 7,396 pints of ice cream. I should take a hard pause right there. Can I do that? If you were actually at the last session, you will know that your brain starts racing with, okay, I want them to be in white pints. I want them to have colorful labels. I want my logo on it. I want individual product names on it. I have to have ingredients on it, you know what I mean? And you can actually start to break down for the year, what am I gonna be spending in pints from my supplier? What am I gonna be spending in ingredients to make that good? What am I gonna be spending in ink? Can I actually print 7,300 labels at my house? Or do I need to go to FedEx Kinko's? Which, mind you, like survived my entire years of entrepreneurship. FedEx Kinko's, shout out to the workers, they're amazing there. So you begin to start wrapping your head around that number, right? Okay, well then that tells me I'm gonna do quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily. So bringing it all the way down, 7,396 pints of ice cream is daunting to me. I don't have enough hands. But daily, that means that I need to be selling anywhere from 20 to 21 pints a day. Well, a week, that's 142. Suddenly that number becomes a little bit more manageable, and immediately I'm asking my brother, who is my best friend, to come and help me produce ice cream for free. So, all right, right. So, why do we do this exercise? For a number of reasons. We need to know where we're going. And we do not know how to get there. We don't have the vision. And we're going into business. We are going to charge people money, and we are going to pay people money to make this vision happen. So we truly need to have an understanding of the landscape of what it is that we're getting ready to set out and do. What should you do with these numbers? They should be everywhere. So, personal story, like I will share two. But personally, when I left Fusion and started my consulting business, there was a salary that I had in mind the whole time I was at Fusion that I felt I deserved, that I felt was representative of my energy, of my time, of my expertise, of what I had sacrificed, about what I put on the back burner. I actually, like, my heart's beating faster because I remember that feeling of being like, I want that salary because I deserve it. And when I left, that was my number. When I started consulting, I took that number and I figured out what is the product that I think could help actually solve a problem. And I wrote down what I thought that problem was and what I think I could do to solve it and the value that it creates in someone else's life if I'm able to help them solve it. So I figured out what that price would be. So I actually went down to the hour. If I'm working with someone, what does that price need to be? And then I took that dollar amount, my pie in the sky, and I divided it by how many people I needed to work with to hit that number, right? Now the beautiful thing is, and this is the same in food service, is sometimes we have customers who just want to come and buy 1 pint of ice cream from us. But every now and then, we meet a customer who wants to buy 100 pints of ice cream from us every week. That might be a new and a different type of customer. So what do I do with that number? Okay, I just gained a customer who's going to buy 100 from me every week, right? So I'm going to total that up for the remainder of the year, and I'm going to see what dollar amount that represents in my goal. And guess what? I can take my transaction count down for the number of customers that are going to come in and buy 1 pint of ice cream from me. So now I'm starting to understand, based on my customer relationships and how people buy my product, what percentage that customer should represent in my dollar amount in sales. Okay, so I think I have to pass the mic around too if I have someone talk, right? Okay, great. So then people get to this number. This happens a lot. And they're looking at it every day. Oh, I was going to share another story. If you have a team of people. So when I was working at Fusion, we had many aggressive goals. We were bootstrapped. Everything that we did was, how do we produce the results, right? To feed more people at lunch and dinner without it costing us money. So when you have an aggressive dollar goal and an aggressive transaction goal, and if you're fortunate enough to have a team, it's no different than me waking up and looking at my consulting number every day. Your team needs to be aware of that number. They need to be aware of how many transactions represent that number. If there's a whiteboard, if there's a staff area, if there's a scheduling tool that you can message, your team members are vested partners of your concept. So they deserve to understand exactly the energy that they deposit into your business, and that we're saying good day or bad day. They need to understand what that actually means. And they need to understand that the energy that they invested in that day, what did it actually go on to produce? And what does that mean for the bigger picture? When you start having that conversation, some beautiful things happen. It actually opens up the floor for conversation, because we all know what it feels like to package 1,000 salads to get 1,000 salads out the door, right? So if I'm saying we actually have to double that to hit our goals, we have to be able to produce 2,000 salads, we need to have a conversation about what that looks and feels like. And everybody has a different perspective. There are little things, especially in food service. If I can give you one piece of advice, is that the tiniest things make the biggest difference when it comes to cost of goods and labor in food service. The tiniest things. We just heard about the box. If you're in the last session, for Amazon changed Third Water Wave's box, and it cost them 75 cents additional a box. And they got a bill for $19,000. That adds up, right? And so you can't imagine to understand every single person's perspective on your team of what it takes to package up 1,000 salads. That's why you debrief. You talk about, what did that take from us? And what's it going to take for us to double that? Right? Now you have a vested game plan, because they've contributed, you've realigned. Next week we're coming back for 2,000 salads, right? And the conversation continues. All right, so the big number, we talked about categories: dine-in, carry-out, online ordering, catering, retail, wholesale. There are so many of them. So ask yourself, how are you selling your product? Like, truly ask yourself that. How are you currently selling the product? How do you want to sell the product? Because maybe you're selling the product in a way currently that is literally exhausting you physically and mentally, right? So if that's not working for you, you're going to crash and burn. It's going to hurt, right? The pie is going to fly. The pie is flying down from the sky, right? So we don't want that to happen. So ask yourself, how do you want to sell the product? Okay, well, then we actually have to try it that way, right? We have to see how customers respond. So then there's other questions, like how do your customers want to buy your product? So the way that you want to sell it and the way they want to purchase it, does that align? And then the biggest consideration of them all, because I think they wrote in my description about making your storefront work for you and making different streams of revenue work for you. One of the, you cannot operate in a silo. Everyone says that, right? But then as business owners, we get this idea like, I have to offer online ordering because that's what everyone is doing. And that's what my customers want. They want to be able to place the order from their office and pick it up in 15 minutes, and I have to do that. That has to be an option. Okay, so if you launch that and your customers don't actually want that, and your product doesn't actually hold up in that process, you will experience low participation and immediately say, I'm gonna have to figure out a different way to market it. Just costs money, But did we actually test this with the customer first? Is our product actually meant to be served via online ordering? So typically, if you are in the space to ask this question, you have people who you can ask this question to. So never be afraid to survey and seek feedback from your customer. Now, you may hear some things you don't want to commit to, so you may have to go just back to the drawing board, right? Find a happy medium. But additionally, if you do launch something like, I have a client who serves these amazing open-faced biscuit sandwiches. They're so delicious. It's Salt Block on 3rd Street. Please go see Justin. He's amazing. And, the downtown crowd for lunch, it's not as heavy as it once was, but it's still there. And they have limited time to order and pick up and leave with their lunch. So he hits me up and he's like, every day I hear from 5 people that I need to have online ordering set up. Just if you've ever met Justin, he wants you to come and he wants you to sit in front of him. He wants to watch you eat that sandwich. He wants to ask you how it is. He wants to add greens to it if you want some greens to it. That is Justin. That's what he wants to do, but his customer's asking, hey, I have to be able to order online and come and pick it up, right? So that grew out of a demand. So you do have to be willing to know what you want in the equation, what you're willing to put your effort and your work behind, but also where your customer is going to meet you. And then you need to evaluate that. How many steps, literally, so when you introduce this new process, to what am I willing to go for and where is my customer willing to meet me? You need to count the number of steps that it truly takes from the point of time your customer is interested to the time they pay you money. You need to write down every single step that it takes. So if you're a caterer, what is the first point of interest to the first payment? And how much effort was on your customer and how much effort was on you? And is that sustainable? Because if it isn't, it's not going to last. This thing. All right. Some ideas. They asked me to bring some ideas to the table for food concepts. We have tons. Right? All right. So, You know, the good old trusty brick and mortar. I love the brick and mortar. So physical locations. We've got food trucks. We've got pop-ups. We've got farmers markets. We have prepared meals. We have catering. We have food halls. We have delivery. We have online ordering. We have collaborations. We have food retail. We have events. We have classes. We have workshops. We have subscription services. We have wholesale. There are plenty of options for you to produce revenue. So one of the examples was that if you need a kitchen and there's a restaurant closed on Sunday, let's go ask them to use their kitchen, okay? If you have a kitchen and you're closed on Sunday, why don't you go find some food entrepreneurs to rent your kitchen on Sunday? That's revenue. That's going to help contribute to the pie in the sky. So collaborations, this is the last one I want to call out before we take any questions if we still have time. Collaborations are magical. And what I actually mean is taking your business's name to another business's name, your product, your service, mashing it up with another product or service from another company, and co-branding that collaboration. Because what that does is that puts your name in front of a whole new segment of people that don't know you, and it puts their name in front of a whole new segment that doesn't know them. And chances are, you can find a collaborator who values the similar things as you within this community. So, ding, 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 you're tapping into a customer segment that potentially values the same thing. Do not underestimate the power of collaboration. Just because it may not have looked, you didn't think of it in your original plan, like renting out your kitchen, don't discount the idea. Any questions? I know we covered a lot.